So talking about the pros and cons of one versus the other is going to make a lot of sense, because it'll save you a lot of time, right? Because when you're trying to get your head around what it is that you're going to be looking at and looking for in the valley, separating the new construction from resale conversation is going to get you to where you need to be a lot faster.
Man, it's good to be here. We're gonna talk a little bit tonight about
New construction versus resale. Why you would look at one versus the other.
Yeah, absolutely. And something we should just talk about real quick is kind of where our passions are, our niches, the things we really love. Like for me, for the last 14 years, I've been living up in the mountains, basically. I've been living up out of Council, then McCall, and working in all those areas, Cascade around, all the way around. So something I've really grown to love is mountain properties, vacation homes, acreage, dirt, ag and horse properties. That's kind of my heart. That's my background, right? Yeah. But I live down here and have had a place down here as well. And all my best buddies are down here. I grew up down here, so these are things I love. But you got some things that you really dig doing as well.
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of in part why this formulated is because we have quite a different kind of perspective and some expertise in different areas.
Yes.
I've been servicing, for the most part, the Treasure Valley down here for, since 05.
Right.
I do get up, into McCall area a little bit, but not a ton. But mainly kind of your not so rural, more in town product, new construction, of which you have experience there as well. So anyway, I think it's just all to say that hopefully between the two of us, we were going to cover a pretty wide swath of the type of product that you'd be looking for in our market.
Oh, that's the cool thing is that you just really come to it with your passion for loving the city and the amenities and all the lifestyle that's there to be had, right? So you could really relate. Yeah. I'm coming in kind of like country boy, and I'm like, well, that's pretty neat over there.
But I don't want to be there.
Man, how cool? That's pretty neat over there. Boy, it's traffic, something in it. Right. But no, that's what makes it great. It's what makes it a great winning team.
Yeah. Well, and you reside in Canyon County. I reside in Ada County. So, I'd like to think that if people are looking to move into the area, we're going to partner you with whoever is a really good fit for you. Tonight's topic applies to both areas.
Right.
You can, up in the wilderness, you can have new construction as well as resale. So anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to focus on because it's going to quickly become the topic of conversation. Yes, you're going to talk about, I want to be this proximity to my work or in this school district, or I want to be close to this recreation or whatever. But people need to know that it currently is and has been for a long time and probably will be for the foreseeable future, that new construction is something you're going to have to look at. So talking about the pros and cons of one versus the other is going to make a lot of sense because it'll save you a lot of time, right? Because when you're trying to get your head around what it is that you're going to be looking at and looking for in the valley, separating the new construction from resale conversation is going to get you to where you need to be a lot faster.
Yeah, if you understand those options and how those are different, but because here's the reality: from Boise, the valley is going to primarily grow to the west.
West, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
So there's only so much desert we're going to dig into, and it's gonna come west, and so these are all going to be new construction, new developments.
Yep. Yeah. Well, we're only so big, and at the growth that we're experiencing, resale is only going to. It is resale, right?
Right.
New construction is creating inventory. Resale is just recirculating inventory. So it's kind of it's very finite just in definition. So until we begin to even catch up with the amount of growth that we got coming into the valley,
right,
most of the time you're going to be looking at a new construction home.
New stuff.
And there are a lot of nuances, idiosyncrasies, pluses and minuses of one over the other. So you kind of gotta know what direction you want to head in. If you need a home fast and you don't want to invest a fair bit into it, you just kind of want it turnkey, ready to go, that's a resale.
Yep.
Yeah, they got their blinds up, their backyards in, all the stuff that a lot of builders.
You don't want to worry about having to plant trees and wait for
Right.
10, 15 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And some people they love that mature subdivision with the trees, and they want to know what the community is going to look like in a few years. And that's really, really important to you. Then yeah, we're going to go look at resale.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a great point, because usually what I've seen, and you can tell me what you experienced, is when you have families where they're like, hey, we want some big shade trees in the back. We want the kid to be able to have a tire swing. We want some nice yard with some fence, low privacy, right? Some of these things aren't necessarily right there with the new construction stuff. It's like, you got to kind of think about it. You got to build, you got to put the fence up, you got to plant the trees and so forth. And then of course there's all these things of, older neighborhoods and the established people have been there versus everybody else is just kind of coming in and the new developments. And so everybody's
who they are,
kind of,
what they're about, what direction the neighborhood's going to go in. Yeah, it's kind of, you don't know.
Right.
But obviously in the existing, and I'll call, they're synonymous, right? Existing resale. You got a pretty darn good idea, because those people are probably going to stick around for a minute. Yep. So, there is definitely the demographic, the people that want that resell, that existing home. The things you're going to take into consideration there, other than what you mentioned, is these are going to be older homes, right? By definition, somebody's lived in it. It's kind of like buying a used car.
Yes.
So you're just going to have to understand that there's going to be, idiosyncrasies about that particular home that may or may not.
Well, and even comes right down to the craftsmanship, how they were built. 10 years are a little different how they're built today, and for 20 and 30 and so on. So some people want that real character, old craftsman style feel. They're going to be looking at the older neighborhoods, the older homes. Yeah. Somebody who loves the new modern stuff, or maybe their goal is, maybe it's like they're not looking for a real fancy house. Maybe they're more about the lifestyle. They just want function. They want, does it meet what I need to do? Get up, make breakfast, go to work, come home, go to bed, because I'm living life out on, the mountain or on the river or whatever, so. Yeah. But new construction gives you so many options, because you can either look at, custom builds, working with a builder, right? Or you can look at specs.
Yep. Yeah, most are specs these days. I would say in our valley, a lot of the builders are getting out of the kind of the custom side of things, especially when it's a hotter market.
Yes.
But yeah, definitely to your point. I mean, resale is going to be what it is unless you throw a lot of money at it to change it.
Yeah, well, one of the things I've seen guys who used to do custom is they'll do like an A, B, C, D package. It's like, these are our homes. This is the floor plan. You can pick some wall color, a couple different options on carpet or flooring. Yeah. Here's a couple options on cabinets, but the rest of it, we get her done. Yeah. And that's, so it's like a custom spec, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one thing I kind of wanted to differentiate, right, on a resale. Unless you plan on going in and throwing a bunch of money at it, like I said, the inclination for construction might be that, hey, I want a very personal home. I want to pick, my countertops, my appliances, my colors, my, all that. And I'm just sharing that some of that has gone away a little bit over the years, where builders are just inclined to build it what they call a specification. They've kind of got it all spelled out. They know what the floor plan is and they know everything that's going into it. If you want something more personal, get with us, and we can introduce you to some builders that can either be more semi-custom, or in your budget, if it's a little on the higher end, then that full custom. But I'm just sharing over time that's changed a little bit.
Yep. Oh, definitely, because the demand's so high.
Yeah. So on the resale, obviously, it's an older home. If you're 2 or 3 years old, probably not a big deal, but you got to know that the warranties, from the builder, at least in Idaho, I'm sure a lot of other states too, it's a year.
Right.
So you're not going back to the builder. You're not asking them to fix things. We talked about it in our last podcast that you can get warranties, on a resale home. So if you're kind of concerned about, something that's 10 or 15 years old, what do the mechanicals look like with the furnace and, some of the plumbing, and, you can put
those are really a good idea to look into, learn about, and understand.
Yep.
Yeah. People
not
think
that expensive.
I mean, people kind of try to relate it to, like, when you go buy something in a store and like, would you want to buy the, extended warranty on that? And usually like, nah. But on the home, it can make a ton of sense for what little it costs.
Yeah. The expense of what you put into it for a warranty cost versus the expense of what you're going to cost to fix something, and or the timing on that expense, like we talked about with our inspectors, when that AC is going to go bad, the hottest day of the year,
right?
It's just Murphy's Law or whatever you call it. So Anyway, but yeah, that's my take on resale. There's a lot of advantages to it. You know what you get. You get a mature community. You understand kind of what's going on, what's around it. So there are benefits and drawbacks there. On new construction, you do get some of the benefits of being able to specify, depending on when you get into the construction process. Can you get into the design center? Can you contribute to how they're applying materials and colors and all that. Some will do it, some won't. The knowing that there's that 1 year warranty, I think actually there's two things. So typically in a new construction, they're introducing some of the things that people, homes are being designed in a way that people like them now, like ensuite bathrooms.
Right.
Some people won't go back to the older homes because they don't want, they want that ensuite bathroom to their master or their primary. And some of the older homes, it just wasn't a thing at the time, or the garages are smaller, or single car or maybe 2 car. So anyway, but the warranty side of things, knowing that I've got a builder, he's going to come in and fix anything.
Yes.
So I don't have to come out of pocket sooner than later. Those are two very common things that
Yeah. Well, typically, you'll see. Maybe what I've seen is a lot of times it'll be younger people getting started that are coming in, right? They're maybe like looking at new construction, like, hey, this is awesome, it's a fresh start, brand new home. Maybe they're just beginning to have a family, what have you. Or maybe it's an older couple who are empty nesters and they're like, hey, it's time to kind of transition. It can be all flavors of life that are looking for new construction, but those are the tendencies I've kind of noticed, like where maybe when they have kids or when things like that, they're like looking for some of those other things. But there definitely has some the other thing is, depending on taste and what the styles are. Some people, when you walk in resale, a lot of times what I've experienced is they're already trying to figure out how they're going to change stuff.
Right.
And you got to really look at that and say,
it's not going to be cheap.
Well, yeah, what's this going to cost? Oh, by the way, how long is it going to take? Who's available to do it? And who's good, who's not? You got to do your,
Yeah, and I would say to do things in today's market, and this has been this way for a minute, is to try to get contractors in to come in and do even the minimum stuff, let alone the significant stuff, is tough. And it's not cheap because it's tough to get a hold of, good talent. So.
This is a real thing. Like up in McCall area, getting somebody to call you back is tough.
They'll call you back when they're done hunting.
Because they're busy, they are busy. Yeah. If it's hunting season, good luck. Yeah. But these guys are busy. They're cranking and, little remodels here and there and stuff like that. That's where the side job handyman have really been able to start a business and do well.
And flourish. Because
the general contractors, the main contractors, they're too busy.
Yeah. Well, that plays into the new construction side of things, depending on what price point you're in. But if you're kind of in the entry level to move up home arena, you're possibly not getting your backyard.
Right.
You're not likely getting blinds.
You're not getting sprinklers in the backyard usually.
Right. Yeah. Sprinklers, landscape, maybe not even a fence or things like that. So, those are costs you're going to have to calculate in. Fortunately, now the market's slowed down a little bit. We can sometimes get builders to throw that in as upgrades, but typically our market's hot enough that you're not getting that, or you're paying for an upgrade. And if you're paying for the upgrade through the builders, it's super expensive. Because if they're honest, they don't really want to.
They don't want to take the time to do it, so they're going to charge you.
Yeah. So you can say, "Hey, I'll finish that up. I'll do it later."
Right.
But it's something you really need to put a lot of thought into. Are resources available, and are the costs, prohibitive? So, and even blinds, to get a good resource on a blind. One, it can get them, and two, are they reasonable?
Well, I'm going to tell you, it takes a little while to put them up. Because you don't just throw them up and say, oh, yeah, I'll just throw them up, no big deal. Like I put blinds through my whole house that I remodeled this summer. And it took me a little bit to kind of figure out how I wanted it and make what looks nice.
Yeah.
But I'm not the handiest guy either. I'll take a job and I'll turn it into a career, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. But I get it done. The YouTube and some people I know, they're a lot smarter than I am with that stuff.
Yeah. Well, what I want to help people avoid is, all too often I'll see somebody hanging sheets up on their window.
Oh, yeah.
Or I'll see that backyard that's just dirt and muddy with their dogs out there traipsing it all back in the house.
Brand new house,
Yep.
brand new neighborhoods, and you'll see sheets in the window.
Yeah. And it may not be because they can't afford it. It might just be because they can't,
They don't have time.
They don't have time. Yeah.
Or they don't know how, they don't have tools even. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of people these days, back in the day, at least where I grew up, everybody had a toolbox, everybody had a few tools, and you just kind of did it. You figured it out, right?
Yep.
Nowadays, a lot of people, man, they don't own tools.
Right.
They're lucky to own a screwdriver.
Yeah. Yeah, or a good one for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Refrigerators are something to take into consideration too. In our market and probably others, quite a few others, if it isn't mounted, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to stay.
Right.
And a resell, if everybody's kind of honest, when you're listing an existing home, you probably talk the seller out of leaving it behind just because they don't want to move a refrigerator or it doesn't fit in their new place or whatever. But by default, it's not included.
It is not.
And a builder is not going to include theirs either. So that's an additional cost, right? A grand, if not two, somewhere. Maybe a little bit less. But refrigerator, blinds, landscaping. I mean, it just seems like there's always something on a new construction home. Shoot, I need this. I need that hose reel or
Oh yeah. Well, even like in a garage, okay, you can have this big, beautiful garage, but guess what? There's no shelves.
Yeah.
There's no place to go vertical with storage. You got to, and shelves aren't cheap these days.
Yeah.
But all that, because if not, you're just stacking it on the floor and then making piles.
Oh, you can see some builders exclude garage door openers.
Wow.
Yeah, that kind of comes.
That's a little cheese.
That's cheap, but that drives me nuts. But but it's a thing you got to think about. So my point is, come into the market, figure out kind of what's appealing to you, what's not appealing to you. I can pretty much tell you the likelihood of if we look at an area in a price point, it's probably going to be 60, 70, if not higher percent, new construction inventory. The builders are the ones making the inventory, and that's probably if you're lucky.
Totally.
Yeah, resale is going to be even smaller. And then the subset of that's like good resale home that I think would be in a good condition for you to go, want to purchase is even smaller than that.
Well, and I think with what's been going on with lumber prices and the cost of everything, a lot of contractors are pumping the brakes. Yeah. But lumber's been coming down really nice. Yeah. And I think we're going to kind of start seeing the pickup again. I think, some things are affecting the builders as well with how aggressive they want to get back into it because, there's interest rates and other things, right? Yeah. But at least the materials and the process of building is starting to lean more back in the favor of getting something built and having not being just crazy with the costs.
Yeah, that's a good point. Our market has really shifted in the favor of the buyer. So it's been busy and so fast-paced for so long, sellers in general haven't had to give any concessions.
Right.
So they're not helping you with their closing costs. Builders aren't giving you any upgrades. Sellers aren't reducing their price or contributing anything. Now is a good time to actually buy. If you're in the market, builders have promos, so they'll give you, 10, 20, I've seen $30,000, $40,000 in promos going towards closing costs and some of those upgrades that we're talking about. If you want that landscaping, you want that fence, you want that refrigerator, and they will be more inclined to throw those in than to reduce their price because once they reduce the price, it adjusts the comparables in their community, which they don't want to do.
Right.
So I'm just saying, as of January 2023, if you're looking at a new construction home, come chat with us because I think you can get a lot of that stuff, even rate buy downs and things like that to make your monthly, more attractive.
Buyers are starting to gain value back to the dollar.
Yes. Thank goodness.
For a while, it was just like if you want it, you just gotta work it out. Just keep handing it out, right?
And you'd be lucky if you get it.
Yeah, and now it's kind of like, okay, now we're starting to get things a little bit more back to a place where we need to be.
Fair balance, buyer, sellers, market. Yeah. I mean, you can get, the one thing that the resale could have, if you're that person looking for a good deal, is a deep equity, like resell existing homes. If a homeowner has been in there for a long time and they're in a bad situation and you're looking for that deal, like they've got a deeper discount that they can go to than certainly a builder. A builder's, got a finite amount of room that they can work with for a number of different levels.
If you're handy and you go in and you can, here's like when I remodeled, went in, pulled all the flooring out throughout the house, pulled all the trim off, pulled all the doors. I put all new hardware on everything, new light fixtures, painted it, ceilings, walls, everything. Put all new flooring in it. You can all of a sudden make your home feel 30 years newer, and not a lot of money. It is some sweat equity.
Yeah.
And if you got a little know-how and a little want to, you can do it. And all of a sudden, you're like, you just turn around and had some sweet equity into a home. And, it's going to feel good, look good. So there's some pros.
Oh,
definitely.
absolutely. Yeah, and I think if your timing is right, if you play all those cards, just as you had mentioned, if you found a good location and good bones, because those aren't going to change.
Good bones.
Yep, good location, good bones. If you're missing on either one of those, you're going to...
And just say what you mean by bones, because you and I know.
Oh, yeah. So when you walk in, it can be ugly, but if it doesn't flow, like an ensuite master bath, if you want that, if it ain't there, you're not going to spend all that money to do it.
Right.
Are the bedrooms configured such that they make sense? It's proximity to living area. Everybody's slightly different. So the bones might change a little bit, but there's some things that just don't make sense.
If the general floor plan is there, you might be able to move a wall, get rid of a wall, something that's not load bearing.
Right.
But if the general floor plan, the square footage is there, you got something to work with.
Right. So don't get all caught up on how ugly it is. So this is, in my opinion, like the perfect buy. You got the good location, you got the bones, because you're not really changing those. Get it at a really good price. Because again, depending on how long the seller's had it and what kind of situation they're in, buy it at a good price, and then assess what it's going to take to bring it up to where you want it to be livable or resellable. If it's a lot of work and you got to enlist help, back to the conversation we just had, right? That you may or may not get them and they might be expensive, but if you can do it and you're handy, and
call it buddy,
do the lipstick thing. you bought it in a good spot with good bones. You purdied it up, and you're living in a beautiful home, or you're reselling it to somebody that absolutely wants it.
Hey, I learned a long time ago. I don't have to know everything, but it's great to know people who do know things I don't know. Like, so for example, when I was remodeling, there was a lot of steps. I was like, man, I hadn't done this. But I call up some friends that are in the know. They're builders, they're subs. I'm like, hey, man, what would you do here? Hey, would you do it? And maybe they swing by, they take a look, they coach you up a little bit. Here's a couple things you need to do. You're on your way.
Yeah. And that's a really good point. We talked a little bit about it in our last podcast with the inspector, but that's being, part of the team. When you work with our family, we have a team that we bring together for that very reason. When they say, hey, I'd like to do this, I might not give you Joe or Jane's name because they're not really good at the specific thing you want, but we'll give you Tim's name.
Right.
So that's something that a good agent should present as value.
I'm always talking to my network, man.
Yeah.
Like I got a network of friends from the valley here, from going up here, down here to up there in 3 different areas I lived in and being on the ranch and stuff. And I mean, like just yesterday, we're working with a builder up in McCall. And tons of snow. Got a guy coming in clearing driveways all the time, right? As soon as they get 6-8 inches, they come in and clear out. But there's a residual around the edges, right in front of the garage, around the walkway. Well, I'm like texting buddies and, hey, I need to find a young buck, some young kid who can go do a little shoveling snow for us because we need this taken care of. Yeah. So all of a sudden, they're like helping, find, and you got to do it. You got to use your resources.
Yeah. Yep. So having a good network for the resale, the existing homes is obviously very critical. Just depending on what you want to accomplish, our job is going to be, what are you looking at, where are you looking at, what's your budget, and just kind of helping you, navigate that process. This is the reason I do this. This is the reason I wouldn't do that. If you're heavily strapped, you're just barely getting into a home. New construction and all these other things that need to happen probably isn't a good idea.
Yeah, if you don't have some slush fund, to be honest with you, unless it's a really nice development where they've done it all. Yeah. If you don't have some slush fund money to be doing those things, you're going to want to step back and think about that.
Yeah. Yeah, and even on the existing side, there's a window there or a sweet spot that, you don't want to get something that's too distressed either because you're going to need the money there too.
Yeah, this old and a little worn is okay. Yeah. You can live with it for a while. Right. This old and kind of getting worn out, well, you could be opening up a can of worms, and you better have a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, or both.
Right.
Yeah, for a minute. And those warranties too, for some that don't know, I've been asked, those are a year by year thing. You spend $500 ish or whatever
a year.
That's for the year.
Yeah.
And you don't have to renew next year. The idea is to wean off of that, to have, enough money set aside that you can take care of that, not just pay for the warranty.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, man, I think we've covered this
A lot, huh?
pretty well.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of went right through it.
There's a lot. As we always recommend, just feel free to reach out to us.
Yeah.
The solicited remark in the, comment in the comment area, or give us a call.
And the neat thing about this is that no matter what, you're always learning as agents, and when we're dealing with different people and different properties and different deals and transactions, you're always learning. So even everything we're talking about, there's so many things still we're learning.
Yeah, that's a good point. We'd like to, bring a lot of value to you so that you don't have to learn, the hard way. But just so you know, we will shoot you straight. Is one of DR's, common sayings that I really love. That we might not know. We're not going to know everything, but we'll go figure it out.
Yes,
We'll talk to the right people that'll give us the right answers.
Yeah, I guarantee you, there isn't anybody who's going to hustle and grind more and get that information, get it to you.
Yeah, and that's because we treat it. I always like to say I treat your buying or selling process as if it was my own, as best I could. I want to, I'm not in your shoes, but I'm going to try to get them as close as I can. Understand what your goals, your objectives are. I want to be that trusted advisor, that trusted counsel to come in here and put all this together.
Yeah.
And in large part, it's due to that network that we're going to pull in, and the resources that we have. So.
Absolutely.
But,
Perfect.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah.
So with that, I'll wrap it up with hope you have a blessed day.
Hey, wherever you're at, make the most of it and be in the moment.